Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, I believe that reality actually matters more than messaging or misinformation or political ads, more than shutdowns even, or procedure or poll numbers. The way people feel about their lives and their jobs and the future for their kids has a lot more to do with how and whether they'll ultimately vote than the sorts of debates on language and framing and ideology that normally dominate the cable news airwaves. Of course, part of why we've had these crazy swings in our politics from one team to the other is because reality has not been that great. The naive hopes of the Clinton tech bubble era, they've collapsed into a depression of elite crimes, financial precarity, and working class oblivion. The most brazen criminals in the country, they got rich. The most honest, salt of the earth people in the country, they got screwed. And we keep tossing out this party and then tossing out that party because neither one actually gives a damn about doing anything to restore some basic sense of fair play, of possibility, of just an expectation of a basic level of dignity. But to give you a few specific examples of my grand theory that reality actually matters, let's think about why Trump lost. It's pretty obvious. People felt crappy about a pandemic that was keeping them at home, their kids out of school, and threatening their loved ones. Even if Trump had done nothing different at all, but the pandemic happened to be easing and people were starting the fall with their kids headed back to school, zero doubt in my mind that he would have been reelected. Another example you can think to, back in 2012, things were not all that amazing in the economy, but the unemployment rate was consistently ticking down. The number of people in the country who felt the nation was on the right track was consistently ticking up. It was enough for Obama to defeat the cartoonish caricature of out-of-touch wealth that they skillfully defined Romney as. But things were very, very different just 2 years earlier in the midterms of 2010. You remember this?
President Bush, when he went through a similar thing, came out and he said this was a thumping. And you talked about how it was humbling, or you alluded to it perhaps being humbling. And I'm wondering, when you call your friends, like Congressman Perriello or Governor Strickland, and you see 19 state legislatures go to the other side, governorships in swing states, the Democratic Party set back, what does it feel like?
Feels bad. Yeah, now, I'm not recommending for every future president that they take a shellacking like I did last night. You know, I'm sure there are easier ways to learn these lessons.
A shellacking. Reality sucked in 2010. The left was furious, the right was furious, the economy was terrible, the recovery was slow, the mood was seething. And voters either stayed home entirely or they showed up to register their fury by kicking out the party in power with gusto. That was the year I ran for Congress as a Democrat. Amazing timing on my part. But the truth of the matter is, Democrats that year, they deserved to lose. Remember, these people had a majority in the House. They had a supermajority in the Senate. They were entrusted with astonishing power, historic power, at the most critical moment imaginable, and they blew it. They deserved to lose because they didn't jail any bankers for their crimes, because they didn't end the wars they said they would, because they were more worried about Chuck Todd thinking they spent too much money in the stimulus than actually getting the policy right. They decided to do a giant giveaway to health insurers rather than actually rip out the corrupt healthcare mafia system root and branch and create in its place something that was actually about health and care. The Republicans, of course, they didn't deserve to win, but there is zero doubt Democrats suffered a righteous and fully deserved loss. Well, friends, where are we today with the Biden administration? We got some check-the-box executive orders, we got a short-term relief package that has now mostly expired, and we got a truly courageous withdrawal from Afghanistan that was marred unfairly by media coverage and very fairly by a drone strike that murdered an entire Afghan family and their babies. The rest of the Biden promises on everything from unions to economics to civil rights and immigration, they have all collapsed in a heap at the feet of Joe Manchin, Josh Gottheimer, Kyrsten Sinema, and most importantly, Joe Biden himself. Think about it. He promised to raise the wage to $15 per hour. That's gone. He launched his campaign with the firefighters union, pledging to be the most pro-union president in history. But the PRO Act looks set to go down with the reconciliation bill or be cut out by the parliamentarian. Climate change is in the hands of coal baron Joe Manchin. Voting rights, police reform, redistricting reform, campaign finance reform, all dead. Immigration reform has been killed by the parliamentarian. The entire populist economic agenda appears right now to be going down in flames. A base that was highly animated to end the cruelty of Trump-era immigration policies, they've been treated to images of horror at the border and the realization that the Biden admin is now engaged in one of the largest mass expulsions of migrants in history. Maybe nothing, though, exemplifies Democratic Party failure better than the doomed fate of prescription drug reform. Everyone in the party has been running on lowering drug prices for more than a decade. It is a policy supported by 80 or 90% of Americans, and it's probably going to fail. What is a political party worth if they can't even deliver on something so incredibly basic, obvious, and long pledged as lowering prescription drug prices? Now listen, you might be on one side or the other of some of these issues, but two things are abundantly clear. Number one, Biden voters were lied to. The promises were fake. Number two, reality right now sucks. Let me show you in one graph how people are feeling about the state of America right now. Just take a look at this chart. So the number of Americans who think we are on the wrong track has spiked dramatically over the past several months. You can see that at the end there. Wrong track has been besting right track for a while now in America, but back just as recently as May, wrong track was only ahead of right track by a mere 7 points. Today, that gap has exploded to 30 points as Delta has surged, supply shortages have widened, and Biden just looks on. He has burned up so much time fixating on this bipartisan infrastructure bill in the absurd belief that voters are going to care more about whether Lindsey Graham signed on to an agenda than whether Biden has actually delivered for the American people. Biden's reconciliation bill is the last big chance to change the state of reality. Not because it has to be, but because Biden himself has decided to handcuff his agenda through his own lack of boldness on executive action, through a bizarre deference to an unelected bureaucrat, to an unwillingness to end an arcane procedural rule called the filibuster, and a seeming unwillingness to use a single hardball tactic to bring the corporate sellouts to heel. Not to mention a disastrous political strategy that left the entire agenda hanging until right now. So just like 2010, Republicans don't deserve to win. They have zero to offer or say. But do Democrats deserve to lose? You betcha. Unless something wildly changes, the party in power will get shellacked, and they will deserve it. And listen, we talked about this starting the show. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.